From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
4 Glendale schools are sharing campuses after 2 elementary schools were forced to undergo structural repairs. What students and parents are expecting to face during construction.
And a ruling made in 2011 was overturned by the Arizona Supreme Court today. How the new decision will affect police officers and their pay.
And 2 Arizona residents take their border security concerns to Congress, saying Border Patrol agents aren't doing their jobs.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Alexis Ducraft.
And I'm Alex Capriello. Thank you for joining us. 4 Glendale schools will be sharing campuses after safety concerns forced 2 elementary schools to make structural repairs. Jesse Canales tells us the impact on students and parents.
Why then was the school day allowed to continue unabated at that point?
Landmark and Challenger elementary schools are making necessary repairs costing over $2 million after engineers found the walls were unstable. Both schools were constructed by the same contractor.
Foundations appeared to be compromised.
The superintendent met with the engineers on Friday.
Can you guarantee that the buildings are safe to be occupied? He told me he could not.
They alerted parents and teachers on Saturday to let them know schools would be closed for repairs.
Made us a bit angry, because it was just they should have found out like in the summertime, when they had time, when the kids were on vacation.
We acted as soon as we found out, we acted as quickly as possible.
The repairs will result in some changes to the school schedules. All 4 schools will now be split into half days. Some will start around 6 in the morning and others closer to noon. School buses will drop off students to their new schools.
Staff will be available to help transport children.
Some parents aren't happy with the changes.
It's going to be a stressful time for the kids. They are accustomed to the 6-7 hours of school time, and now they're going to cut it down to 4 hours.
In order to fit all the English and math courses within those 4 hours, GESD will cut programs like art, music, and PE and make them after-school enrichment classes. Some parents say with the new changes, they're considering switching schools.
I don't think it's appropriate for the kids, and I don't think it's fair.
Repairs are expected to begin next week and take 20 to 25 school days. From Phoenix, Jesse Canales, Cronkite News.
District officials say the repairs are a temporary solution, and they would like to build new schools in the future, but state budget cuts limit their availability.
After a decision from a case that went all the way to the Arizona Supreme Court, Phoenix police are now allowed to work for their union and still get paid by the city. Cronkite News reporter Danielle Kernkamp has details on how this could impact cities across the state.
For decades, Phoenix police have worked with the city of Phoenix for what's called release time. That's when officers who are part of the Phoenix Law Enforcement Association, or PLE, get paid for their time working with the union rather than police duties. In 2011, that practice was ruled unconstitutional. Today, that decision was overturned. The case was brought to court in 2011 when taxpayers sued the city, alleging the union violates the gift clause, which bars the city from making donations to any association. Lawyers for the police union argued the case for the defense.
We felt like our attorneys did a very good job in front of the panel of judges in conveying the true essence of what the arguments were.
And today, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled in favor of officers being able to work for the union and still be paid by the city. Phoenix Councilman Sal DeCiccio believes this verdict will have a national effect on taxpayer dollars.
This opens up the door not just to the state of Arizona, but it opens up union activity being funded by taxpayer dollars across the country.
DeCiccio says he believes this decision is one of the most impactful that has occurred in Arizona in a long time, since it could force other cities with smaller budgets to pay for time spent away from law enforcement duties. In the broadcast center, Danielle Kernkamp, Cronkite News.
The Arizona Supreme Court has also upheld a ruling requiring police to obtain a warrant to search cell phones, even if someone doesn't lock his or her device with the code. The unanimous decision ends Pima County prosecutor attempts to bring Robin Peoples to trial. He was accused of committing sex crimes in an apartment where a woman was found dead of natural causes. In 2014, the U.S. Supreme Court said police must get search warrants to search cell phones or of people they arrest.
2 weeks after the Arizona primary elections, the Republican race for the 5th Congressional District is still undecided. Today, an Arizona judge ordered officials to conduct a mandatory recount after State Senate President Andy Biggs marginally defeated Christine Jones. Biggs won by only 16 votes over Jones in the four-way primary. State law requires the Arizona Secretary of State office to ask the judge for a recount if the margin is less than 50 votes. Officials say the recount may take several days and the results likely will be announced on Friday.
Border residents told Congress today that they're not happy with the way Border Patrol agents are doing their jobs. Sabella Scalise is in Washington, D.C., where two southern Arizona residents expressed their grievances to a House committee.
Peggy Davis and Gary Brashaw both live in between the border and border control checkpoints. They both want a change in what they call problematic security practices.
Once they get across that actual border, they, for the most part, have a pretty free run within that 25-mile area. And the unfortunate thing for those of us that live there is that that's where we live. That's where we work. That's where our children go to school.
Residents complain checkpoints result in harassment and racial profiling. They're also not securing the real borderline.
I've taken care of a lot of illegals that have come through over the years with medicine and help. I can see it and I can feel it on a daily basis, whether it's working or not.
The residents from Arizona and the Southern Border Communities Coalition say they want to see stronger data collection, police body cameras, faster response units, and more agents on the border.
No one is more concerned about the security of the homeland than border residents.
Mark Morgan, the new chief of the United States Border Patrol, is only 2 months into the job and told the committee he intends to look into these problems.
I need to make sure that we have the resources to drive intelligence, to gather intelligence, to disseminate intelligence, to continue to drive those operations.
Representative Martha McSally welcomes Chief Morgan's perspective.
Chief Morgan is new and he's going to take a fresh look. And so in our role, recently in this leadership position on the committee, to work with him, to ask questions, to have him get back to us, and make sure he's listening to individuals like we had today on the second panel that are from a cross-section of our community, so that we can work together to keep our country and our community safe.
McSally and Arizona residents are both hopeful for better communication now that the new chief has attended his first congressional hearing and is part of the conversation to change checkpoints and defense in-depth strategies. In Washington, Sabella Scalise, Cronkite News.
A new partnership has been announced to combat opioid addiction.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how broadcast stations across America are trying to educate the public.
Plus, how a University of Arizona doctor's new guidelines will help detect valley fever and treat this common infection.
I think I finally found my hallelujah. I've been waiting for this moment all my life now. All my dreams are coming true, yeah. I've been waiting for this moment. It's good to be alive right about now.
This is a box that showed you a world beyond your own. It was just a box, but the world has changed, and so have we. And now the box can be almost any size or shape. And you decide what you want to explore. Anytime, any place. Break out of the box with PBS.
Opioid overdoses are at an all-time high, killing more Americans than car crashes or firearms. Following an initiative to cover this epidemic here in Arizona, now stations across America want to deliver a message of hope. Claire Caulfield has the details from Washington.
Indeed, every local radio and TV station
becomes a lifeline in times of crisis. Today, America faces another crisis, a public health crisis that is ravaging communities across our country.
Today, the National Association of Broadcasters and the Partnership for Drug-Free Kids unveiled a series of public service announcements with resources for addiction and prevention. The move was inspired in part by Arizona broadcasters, who in 2015 aired the Cronkite-produced documentary Hooked. It ran commercial-free on every television station and most radio stations in the state.
In Arizona, now we can't point at the program and take responsibility for this. I'm not doing that. But in Arizona, it's interesting to note that the overdose deaths tracked downward, and they were the only state in the United States that's done that in a one-year period in the last few years.
Senator John McCain had high praise for Hooked and for the role broadcasters play in educating and engaging the public on tough issues.
If we are going to cure this scourge, this epidemic that is affecting America, and particularly many of our citizens who may not only be amongst the least well-off financially, but amongst the most well-off financially. It has affected every spectrum of American society.
There's no official word on how many Arizona broadcasters will be airing these PSAs, but Brooks said the state will continue working to educate the public about addiction.
Today, Arizona broadcasters have already graciously agreed to support another such program, with the Cronkite School being the producer of the program, to address the prescription drug and opioid issue.
In Washington, D.C., Claire Caulfield, Cronkite News.
To help Cronkite News continue to cover the opioid epidemic, our Public Insight Network Bureau wants to hear your thoughts on painkiller abuse and addiction. You can go online to cronkitenews.azpbs.org to fill out your online query and share your story.
For the second consecutive year, Arizona State University was named the nation's most innovative school, according to U.S. News and World Report rankings. The data is based on a survey of college residents, presidents, provosts, and admissions deans around the country who nominated up to 10 colleges and universities based on innovative improvements for curriculum, faculty, students, campus life, technology, and facilities. ASU has received recognition from all over, including from Governor Doug Ducey, an ASU alumnus himself. He tweeted, quote, "Second year in a row, ASU selected as most innovative school in the country. Hashtag Go Devils." Stanford and MIT took the number 2 and 3 spots respectively, keeping last year's positions. ASU's Global Freshman Academy, the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, and online engineering degree have all contributed to ASU, keeping its number 1 ranking. Arizona is celebrating a victory today. Gateway Community College is hosting an event honoring Phoenix for being the most autism-friendly city in the world. The A Place in the World event will provide a behind-the-scenes look at the making of 2 recent PBS NewsHour specials featuring Phoenicians living with autism. The local nonprofit works to ensure there are many housing options for people on the autism spectrum. Valley leaders are writing to Congress to push more funding for Zika research.
That's as Arizona is seeing more cases of Zika. Coming up on Cronkite News, what researchers at the University of Arizona are discovering about Zika carrying mosquitoes.
As we take a look at temperatures across Arizona right now, you'll notice no 100-degree temperatures anywhere. When Cronkite News returns, I'll tell you when we can expect 100-degree heat to return to Phoenix.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I'm always searching to feel like I fit into something.
We are the people that we are because of our past.
I'm just one of many who stopped being silent.
It's just proof of how far we have come.
Make sure in all the hustle and bustle, we don't lose sight of why we're here.
It all boils down to communicating the lives we live.
If you look closely, they've got a story to tell.
He connects with you in a very deep way.
We wish you love, peace, and soul.
Come with us on this great adventure.
Come and play with us.
Onward and onward!
Good ideas open up a whole new world of possibilities.
The more you know about history, the more you know about yourself.
The sky is the limit.
Where I go, there you are.
Mayors from Phoenix, Mesa, and Tempe were among dozens of leaders who signed a letter today urging Congress to approve emergency funding for Zika research. Meanwhile, Arizona researchers are also working to get a better understanding of the virus, which can be especially dangerous for pregnant women. Cronkite News reporter Zach Moran gives us an inside look.
It's called the Aedes aegypti, and it's the mosquito carrying the Zika virus in Arizona.
We are certainly at risk of Zika entering into Arizona and being a problem.
Michael Reilly runs this mosquito research lab at the University of Arizona. It's home to thousands of mosquitoes. About 50 are intentionally infected with Zika for testing.
We're one of the few labs that are capable of actually infecting the mosquitoes with different disease agents, specifically with the dengue virus and the Zika virus.
There are now 30 travel-related cases of Zika throughout the state. Maricopa, Pima, Pinal, Yuma, and Cochise counties all reported cases of the virus this year. And 2 hours north of Tucson is this state laboratory where scientists are working to find answers on this virus. Researchers at this public health lab run tests on blood samples from residents who may have traveled to Zika-infected areas. They hope that these clinical tests will lead to new information and that they will better prepare the public if an outbreak were to occur.
Zika virus is a really scary disease because we're still learning about it, and we know that it can cause some pretty severe outcomes for pregnant women and their babies.
But this has yet to cause concern for some pregnant women around the state.
I thought it was another overinflated scare. You know, I haven't heard about Ebola in a while now, and it just kind of disappeared and phased out, and I feel that this could be the same thing.
Tedesco has 8 children, and she's pregnant with her 9th. She's encouraging other pregnant women to enjoy their pregnancy and not let this threat get to them.
I'd probably tell them that it's not a huge concern and that there's other things to maybe be more vigilant about than Zika virus.
Health officials say that pregnant women should speak with their doctor if they're concerned, but they remain confident that Zika will not become a widespread disease in Arizona. In Phoenix, I'm Zach Moran with Cronkite News.
Officials are urging residents to wear insect repellent and to get rid of any standing water that may be left in containers outside.
Valley fever affects Maricopa, Pima, and Pinal counties more than any other county across the U.S. Cronkite News reporter Natalie Tarangioli met with the University of Arizona doctor who is setting up new guidelines to detect the infection early.
These new guidelines are expected to cut down on the unnecessary medical and treatments that often happen because the fungal disease is often misdiagnosed as a bacterial one, like pneumonia. Carla Gargiulo relies on 3 inhalers and a breathing machine just to get through her day.
It's like this kind of vicious cycle that I'm kind of stuck in right now.
She was diagnosed when a CAT scan showed a 2.5 centimeter nodule on her right lung. Doctors didn't initially recognize the symptoms as valley fever.
I had a chronic cough. I was extremely tired, more tired than normal. My joints, I just didn't feel good.
Coccidioidomycosis, more commonly known as valley fever, is an infection that occurs when spores found in soil are inhaled. Dr. John Galgiani from the University of Arizona published new guidelines for treating this potentially debilitating disease.
These guidelines in many respects reinforced what we said before. They specifically ask questions. It's if you have a patient with a certain set of symptoms, do you start an antifungal drug or not? And then there's a basis for why that answer is our recommendation.
Gargiulo says she never thought of the possibility of having valley fever, even after multiple hospital and urgent care visits, until she was finally diagnosed with an infection she will have for the rest of her life.
Can't sleep upstairs. I have to sleep down on the couch because I am so short of breath I can't even walk upstairs.
Dr. Galgiani said the best thing people can do is be aware of the symptoms of valley fever.
There really is nothing you can do at the moment other than know about it, which actually is extremely valuable.
So if you are experiencing cold or flu-like symptoms, along with joint pain and possibly a rash, You should ask your doctor to test for valley fever. Dr. Galgiani hopes to see a vaccine made available sometime in the near future. He thinks one for dogs, who are 3 times more likely than humans to become infected, could be available as soon as 5 years from now. Live in Phoenix, Natalie Tarangeli, Cronkite News.
TGen is conducting a study on diseases in different dog breeds and need help from families with furry friends to get their data. Those interested in helping with the research can submit information on their dog online that TGen may use in their study. Go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org and search valley fever to find out more on efforts researchers are taking to cure the disease and what you can do to help.
Valley fever cases can also be linked to weather patterns here in the valley. Tyler Klaus is tracking those details and your Arizona forecast. Tyler?
Alex, valley fever cases really rise once we get into monsoon season. That's because that's when we see the most number of haboobs across the state. Those haboobs pick up dust where that valley fever fungus lives and spread it over a large area. Last year, September saw the most number of valley fever cases with 964. Most of our haboobs happen in the state here in Maricopa, Pinal, and Pima counties, and that's because that's where the most number of haboobs happen. Within those counties, the greatest risk for valley fever happens along the I-10 corridor highlighted here. Switching gears as we take a look at our forecast for the rest of the day, we had some really strong rain to our east earlier this afternoon, but that's moving off to the northeast. As we take a look at the rest of the day, we have clearing skies. Once we hit 10 p.m., most of that rain is gone, leaving us with mostly clear skies. As we go through the rest of the evening, those clouds dissipate, and I think once you walk out the door tomorrow morning, you're really going to notice lower humidity across this state, and that's because high pressure is in control. For the rest of the day, we have a spot shower this evening, but once we hit 7 p.m., that risk really goes away with clearing skies overnight and really cooler temperatures for the rest of the week. Taking a look at temperatures tomorrow, 97 degrees here in Phoenix as a high tomorrow. Our normal is 101. High temperature tomorrow, 71 up in the Grand Canyon, 93 down in Tucson. Taking a look tomorrow as you walk out the door, for work, 76 degrees, sunny skies, 3 p.m. as well, sunny skies, 95 degrees. And any evening plans tomorrow look great with clear skies and 90 degrees. Taking a look at the rest of your 7-day forecast, Thursday and Friday look great with 98 degrees both days. But once we get into Saturday, temperatures start to get up to that triple degree mark. We'll hit that triple degree mark again on Sunday with 101 on Monday, and 100 degrees on Tuesday, but no rain forecasted for the rest of the week. Tyler Klaus, Cronkite Weather.
It's the worst possible scenario planned for tomorrow at the Grand Canyon.
Coming up on Cronkite News, how a big drill is designed to put Arizona emergency systems to the test.
Plus, how one of Arizona's more picturesque plants could be headed to the endangered species list.
The confidence to lead our country.
This isn't reality television.
I feel like Hamilton reached out from history and wouldn't let me go until I told his story.
I make no apology for my actions. I would do the same again.
How we come so far and yet have so far to go.
Right there, coming up.
In 1920s Melbourne,
Careful with the hand luggage. My pistol's in there somewhere and it may still be loaded.
Phryne Fisher is a detective.
Things could get interesting around here.
Thought they already were.
Who isn't afraid to live a little.
I hope you're not concealing a dangerous weapon under that skirt.
I'm concealing a lot of things. Why do you think you can just run off on your own? Because I'm carrying a gun.
The irresistible series, Miss Fisher's Murder Mysteries.
Saturday night at 10 on Arizona PBS.
Hi, I'm Charlie Rose. As part of the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication at ASU, Arizona PBS is providing a state-of-the-art venue for the next generation of journalists. From newsrooms in Washington, Los Angeles, and here in Phoenix, students engage in real-time, real-world news reporting, broadcast production, and online innovation. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS working together in new ways to bridge the classroom to the community in the digital age.
Some disaster drills are going to be conducted at the Grand Canyon tomorrow. Police and fire departments will be simulating a disaster where a tour helicopter crashes into a bus filled with tourists, causing the bus to roll over. Actors will be playing the dead and wounded. This drill will test the nationwide public safety broadband network, which requires specific coverage in rural areas.
The famous Joshua Tree of the desert Southwest could be getting some federal protection. Today, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service initiated a year-long status review to make the Joshua Tree federally protected due to climate change. Authorities say the desert tree that can be seen on the way from Arizona to California could disappear over the next century if it is not placed on the endangered species list.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon and PBS NewsHour.
On the next Arizona Horizon, we'll hear about a new study that suggests the tax cuts don't help spur the economy as promised by politicians. And we'll discuss how Facebook is changing the nature of this year's presidential campaign.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next NewsHour. Our Rethinking College series continues. Why Latino men are underrepresented in universities and what can be done to change that. Tuesday on the PBS NewsHour.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thank you for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.